Buongiorno a tutti, benvenuti a questa 10ª edizione del BTO. Grazie per essere qui. Oggi daremo la parola al chairman di STIC Travel Group, parleremo di India. Parleremo di India come di un paese dalle mille sfaccettature, parleremo del turismo in India e confronteremo il B2B con l'online travel market, e per questo darò la parola oggi al chairman di STIC Travel Group e a Ivano Fucci di Odoo Movies. Entrambi sono esperti del settore. Sì, però... okay. Entrambi esperti del settore indiano, e ci sarà un bel confronto tra loro appunto per comprendere l'evoluzione del mercato e le grandi differenze, ma anche l'importanza del mercato indiano per l'Italia. Per questo motivo do subito la parola a Subhash Goyal, che è appunto il chairman di STIC Travel Group e membro della Federazione del Turismo del governo indiano, e che ha ricoperto diverse cariche, quindi è un grande esperto, è uno dei massimi esperti del turismo in India. E successivamente ci sarà la presentazione di Ivano Fucci di Odoo Movies, che presenterà una ricerca di Focusrite sull'evoluzione del turismo dell'online travel market in India, e successivamente ci sarà spazio per domande e risposte da parte mia e dal pubblico, quindi vi invito appunto a partecipare attivamente e siamo qui a disposizione. Grazie mille a tutti e buona BTO.
Buongiorno. Prova. Buongiorno. Hi, how are you? Good? You understand English? How many understand English? Okay, then I can speak in English. I can't speak in Italian, so I speak in English. Okay, friends, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, greetings from 1.2 billion people of India. You know, India has 1.2 billion people. And I mean, I'm really very happy to come to this beautiful city of Florence. And I'm sure, are you all from Italy or some of you are from outside? All from Italy. So you're lucky to be born in this beautiful country and this beautiful city. Well, in my presentation, I'll give you a little perspective about the global tourism industry, then a little bit about India, and then how innovation and technology is helping the tour operators and travel agents. So how many of you are travel agents and tour operators? How many of you are students? Yeah. Okay. So most of you are students. Well, how many of you have been to India? One. So, you know, those of you who have not been to India, you're missing something. Because the world is divided into two, those who have been to India and those who haven't. So I would invite all of you to visit India. Global economy is going to be dominated by 3 T's. One is technology, second is telecommunications, third is travel and tourism. In technology, it will be information technology, biotechnology, nanotechnology. In telecommunications, it's mobile and satellite. Last year, 1.3 billion people traveled, crossed international borders and traveled all over the world. And you know how many jobs were created? 208 million jobs. This will increase to 350 million jobs in the next 10 years. Which means that 30% of the world export of services will be dominated by tourism. 11% of the world will be dominated by world taxes will be there from tourism. and about 10% of world GDP will be from tourism. So, how many of you want to join the tourism industry? Students. So, you are going to be in a very good, industry. This industry is the industry of future. It's labor intensive. Tourism is set to create another 100 million jobs across the global economy in the next 10 years. Ladies and gentlemen, do you know that India is the greatest show on planet Earth? Do you know that 74% of the Himalayan mountain ranges, the highest mountains in the world, are in the northern part of India? Do you know we have 7,000 kilometers of coastline all over India? The only living desert, colorful desert in the world, the Taha Desert, is in Rajasthan, which is also in India. India has 4,000 kilometers of mangrove forests in West Bengal. We have 175 rivers. How many rivers? 175, which run over 1,900 kilometers in length and breadth. We have thousands of caves, and some of these caves are thousands of years old also. So, it is like it's a continent. It's not just a country. We have hundreds of waterfalls, and some of the waterfalls are 1,500 feet high. According to Lonely Planet, a survey of 134 countries, India was chosen as the top 5 countries in the world. Condé Nast Traveler Reader Surveys also says that India is in the top 6 countries of the world. iExplore says that it's the 5 top destinations of the world. National Geographic says India is a land of mystery and majesty. Forbes magazine says India is now one of the fastest growing travel markets. Again, National Geographic says India abounds in arresting fragrances, powerful colors, stirring vistas, electric tastes. India is not only this, India is the birthplace of 4 great religions: Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, and Jainism. Islam originated in the Middle East, but when it touched the shores of India, the spiritual side of Islam, Sufism, flourished. Not only this, an ordinary nun came from Europe, Mother Teresa, and she was influenced by, Indian spirituality, and she became a nun. The spiritual side of Islam, Sufism, we have Sant Kabir. A lot of Sufi saints have been there in India. One of the 12 disciples of Jesus Christ, St. Thomas's Church, is also there in India. Ladies and gentlemen, apart from India, it's blessed with topographical, cultural, religious diversity. India has always been an incredible country with a lot of surprises and delights, from jungles of Sundarbans, which are World Heritage jungles, to the colorful deserts, to palaces of Rajasthan and the cosmopolitan modern cities like Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi. Mumbai and Delhi have over 20 million population each. So that is the scale of, Then we have beautiful erotic sculptures in Khajuraho, where through the medium of, love, they reach God realization. They are known as temples of love. Then we have beautiful temples in Hampi, Badami, Hassan, Belur. From the snow-covered Himalayan mountains to the equatorial islands of Andaman and Nicobar, India is indeed a heaven for tourists. We have 80 national parks, 80 wildlife national parks, 441 wildlife sanctuaries, 36 World Heritage Sites, 36 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, beautiful forts, beautiful palaces, mausoleums, churches. India is really an unbelievable country. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I present a small 8-minute video giving you a brief glimpse of Indian tourism, which has been specially prepared by the Indian Association of Tour Operators for your benefit, because a picture is equal to 1,000 words. So we'll just short film, and then I conclude, and then we have our great producer. He looks like an actor. When he said he's from Bollywood, I thought he's a film star. You should do both. You should do, yeah. So that's India. Can you put the volume?
India is an idea, a way of life, a 5,000-year-old tradition. It is a beautiful union of diversity, humanity, nature, and lifestyle, all come together to give you the experience called India. India invites you with its arms open and with a heart full of love. One feels the love when the soul smiles. In the land of religion, feel the enlightenment. Be in a state of Paramananda, the eternal bliss. A land where history stands still, etched in its rock-cut architecture. The majestic Himalayan peaks, the endless oceans, and the lavish wilderness is a celebration of nature. Dive from the sky, ride the waves, and let the adrenaline rush. India is a breathtaking adventure. Live it. IATO brings to you India at its incredible best. There is diversity in everything, be it the destinations, weather, people, costume, or food. World-class facilities and the heartwarming Indian hospitality make India the ideal place to have leisure, fun, and adventure. An experience so incredible that it will last a lifetime. IATO.
Well, how do you like the film? Good? Now, does it motivate you to visit India? Come along. Yes or no? So let's be participative, no? Yes. So now it's very easy to go to India because you can sit on your internet and you can get an e-visa. You know, we have just introduced e-visa and over 1 million people have utilized e-visa, and we hope that in the next 1 year there will be more than 2 million people coming on e-visa. So no more standing in the queues outside Indian embassy, and no more giving your passports, for your this. Well, do you know that about 22.92 billion of foreign exchange India earned from tourism, which is more, and we have in not only India but whole of the developing countries, 1.8 billion young people between the age group of 10 to 24. Most of them are in developing countries. And India's 50% population is below 25 years. So we have to create jobs for all of them. And that means that tourism being a labor-intensive industry, 1 out of every 10 jobs that are going to be created will be created in this industry. So for tourism, we need to focus on aviation also. Because how will the tourists come in if we don't have aeroplanes and we don't have flights connecting? So Indian aviation is one of the fastest growing in the world, 7.8 to 8% every year. India is now the third largest country in aviation after USA and China, and is estimated to become the largest in the world by 2027. Just imagine, about 18 years back, within India only 5 million people traveled by air. Last year, we had about 103 million people traveling within India by air. All of them are prospective international travelers. Last year, 30 million Indians went out of the country. And the biggest shoppers, Indians spend a lot when they go because we have large families. So Indians are the biggest shoppers in Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, Sri Lanka, Dubai, Switzerland and London. In Thailand, actually, we are number 2 because there are 38,000 Japanese who live there. So even if they buy fish, it is counted as shopping. So those of you who are going to be in tourism, if you want to attract the Indian tourists, then you have to give them a lot of shopping opportunities. You have to, Italy is full of history, so that asset you already have. But most important is that Indians, mostly 50% are vegetarians, and they love Indian food. So if you want to cater to Indian tourists, then you have to have Indian food, a lot of cultural and experiential activities, and nightlife. Well, friends, in India, like all over the world, innovation is the name of the game. The traditional traveler is going out of business. About 80% of all domestic tickets are booked online and or through mobile apps. And about 50% of hotels are also booked online. India is fast changing, and only those agents will survive who will adapt themselves to this technological revolution or change. Most of the travel agents and tour operators are transacting most of their business nowadays on mobile phones. All the big travel agents, online portals have developed mobile applications where you not only can book your airline seats, book your meals, book your bus tickets, book your theater tickets, but also visit the room booked by you and see the view from the window. This is how, technological revolution is taking place in India. And Government of India has also started a technological revolution known as Digital India.
Servizio, i signori Alessandro Calligaris, Mirko Lalli, Francis Louis Passerini sono urgentemente attesi all'Arena Innovation.
Even the mobile phone can do all banking transactions. So even the smallest transaction, maybe for 5 euros, is also done on the mobile phone. So this is like a mini bank now. When everything is available on the net, why does one go to a travel agent or a tour operator? This is the question you'll ask. The only thing, and how will the travel agent and tour operator survive? Because you can do everything on your mobile phone and the net. The answer is, the only way to survive is to innovate and keep innovating. That is why this conference is very useful for you, those of you who are students. So you should try to attend all the sessions and learn as much as possible. Innovating, and you have to narrow your focus, because if you try to do everything, you won't succeed. In India, people are focusing, and whatever is not profitable, people are getting rid of those lines. So people are focusing on medical tourism, someone is focusing on adventure tourism, someone is focusing on religious tourism, someone is focusing on Ayurveda, on yoga, on different things. Yesterday I came to know that you have the scooter tourism here in Florence. So you have to specialize, then only you will survive. Specialization is the key. In Mumbai, our friend is from Mumbai, there are travel agents who do only Jan tours. Jans are people who eat no egg, no meat, no fish, nothing which is grown below the soil. So they cater to them. And they even send their own cooks, to the hotel to do their specialized food. Some specialize in Gujaratis, Maharashtrians, etc. So a new segment which is of experiences, curators of experiences like walking tours, combined with gastronomic experiences like tasting Indian food and other things, even gem and jewelry trips, taking people to gemstone mines, manufacturing units, and gem and jewelry enthusiasts. Well, to sum up, I'll give you 2 examples. One is the power of storytelling. Travel agents and tour operators must use social media like Facebook and Instagram to tell the story of how their company started, the man behind the show, and that makes it interesting. Another thing we've realized is the normal electronic emails we were doing are no longer there interesting, because the person on the counter is filled up with so much during the peak season, so much rush, that he ignores those emails or he puts them in junk. So what we have done is, we have made various groupings. We have done social media groupings of people who are dealing airline bookings, people who are in adventure tours, people who are in MICE meetings and conferences. So separate WhatsApp groups have been made. Similarly, WhatsApp groups have been made for, top management, for counter staff, for sales people. So these WhatsApp groups, whatever product we want to introduce, in geographical areas also, they are, WhatsApp messages are sent. And if someone is not interested, he can also always opt out. So this we have found to be very successful, and we are doing this every day. Remember, friends, that you will survive, because today the doctors, all treatment of all diseases and all medicines are available on the net. Still, one does not treat itself with the net. So he has to go to a doctor, or he has to go to a specialist. So those of you who will become specialists, people will come to you. Whether you specialize in musical tours or you specialize in adventure tourism. So specialization is the name of the game. And the luxury segment also wants to experience unique, luxurious. For example, people come to India to stay in a palace which is actually belong to a Maharaja, or have lunch or dinner with a king. So these are experiences which people come for. So to conclude, ladies and gentlemen, humans fundamentally are social animals. We all fundamentally are social animals. Whatever may happen, human interaction will always be there. That is why we have come here physically and are not doing this conference by video conferencing. So ultimately, human experience is the most important thing. Whatever may happen, friends, personal experience will never replace technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goyal. Amazing speech. Huh? I think what you said is extremely interesting, especially the specialization part, because it's going to be very important for us, for Italians or Europeans, to look at the Indian market with very focused eyes and not generic eyes, because the country is so big and so diversified that you can get lost immediately as soon as you get down the plane. But actually, you should focus on what you are and look for it in the country, because for sure in India is going to be there because there are so many people and so many cultures. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ivano, and I'm from Lucca, but I'm going to speak in English, of course, for our guest. And I really think Mr. Goyal is a key player in the tourism sector in India. He's been around for probably the last 40 years. 40 years. So he has seen the growth. So if after this talk, since we have, unfortunately, always a constraint of time, you need to ask any question, or you need to focus on some of your businesses and how you would direct that towards the Indian market, I think Mr. Goyal is a precious gem today to meet. From my side, I own a company which is called Audio Movies. That is a company that has the office in Lucca, so not far from Florence. But 10 years ago, I traveled to India for, actually the reason was to learn English, and that's why my English has become a little Indian after so many years. And after a little time over there, I worked as a vice director of the Italian State Tourist Board of the office in Mumbai, and I've learned a lot about like travel and tourism from India. It was my topic at the university. But then while working at the Italian State Tourist Board, I got to meet lots of Indian film producers who actually were looking for shooting abroad in Europe, and especially in Italy, some parts of their films. So basically what we did, I opened the company and I started proposing to those film producers the opportunity to come to Italy and shoot with us, because we basically understood what is the cultural method of choosing a destination from India. So there are many reasons why they would come to you. You just need to know what are the reasons that usually they pick to choose something to do in anything in their lives. So this process has taken some years, but then today we make around 10, 12 films every year from India, and we shoot all over Europe, and we are, of course, always with eyes open on the trends that are happening from the Indian market. And that's why this morning I'm here to present you a research done by Focusrite which is about the Indian digital traveler, because the market overview, of course, Mr. Goyal has been extremely clear on what is the scenario right now in India. Basically, we are going to talk about how, in really a very short time, I think 5 to 10 minutes, how Indians have suddenly, one day probably, become mobile native. 25 years ago, India had, of course, no internet infrastructure, so it was really difficult to get an internet point. 10 years ago, when I first came, it was still quite difficult to get a good Wi-Fi connection, and internet was not so popular. Basically, the Indian population has got in their hands the phone mobiles when internet was already inside the mobile. While from our point of view, when I was younger here in Tuscany, I remember I first got the phone, and then after some years, the internet came into my phone. So then I realized that what I was doing on the laptop or at the office, I could do it from my phone. While in India, this revolution has happened straightforward from nothing to internet on the phone, which means that the highest number of the youngsters, Mr. Goyal said, 70% of the Indian population is below 30 years, 35 years. This makes India the youngest country in the world, which means that if you look at our youngsters in our country, everybody now uses the phone for anything. In India, they born and grew up only with this, so with the phone in their hands, with the internet. So this makes India very mobile friendly. So while looking at the market, I think the easiness of use of any of the product that you are going to present to the Indian market should be mobile friendly all the time. Here is there will be some graphics. I hope you can see them. Sorry, just move. Yeah, so then you can see it. So that's the difference between the total travel market of the country and what actually happens online, and how the growth in these years is going to happen, where online penetration is going to go up to 45%, which means that 600 million people are connected to internet, and which means that the market is not only big, but it's especially very much diversified. So that's why specialization comes into place. The behavior. Urban Indians are taking 3+ overnight leisure trips, which means that when they travel, they don't travel for a day, but they stay in destination for a longer time. This is interesting. 1/3 of the Indians, so again, around 450 million people, which is like quite a lot, have traveled internationally. So they have done at least one travel abroad outside the country. But in the other graphic, you can see that the first-timers are 62%, which means that there are more and more first-timers going abroad. So the market, of course, is growing very fast, and it's growing since 10 years, and we've seen the growth of the market, and it's keep growing. Inspiration, motivation, and destination selection. Of course, many now look online for information via websites, take recommendations from friends. Here we have a slide where we have more data. Websites, personal recommendations, online advertisement. India is always been, as Mr. Goyal was saying, a country with large families. So families are a very important aspect in the society. So travel, which is one of the 3-4 basic needs of a human being, is going to be another very important part in their in their normal days and plannings, and where do we meet. Sometimes families are spread all over the world. You know, Indians have gone into a diaspora like many years ago to everywhere in the world, especially because of the English that has eased a lot their immigration to the United States, to the UK, and today families are spread all over and they would like to meet up somewhere. Many of them are again in the United States, and many come to Europe and they meet together in Europe. So that's like recommendations from friends and family will always be very important. So the word of mouth in India is going to be always an important reason why they would choose a destination. Other online aggregators, so the OTAs are very important in the market, and here we can go in a wider topic, but basically Indians are, as also Mr. Goyal was saying, very attached to their way of doing things like since the past. So if they are attached to going on a travel agency or a tour operator, they would still keep doing that. Like they're very reliable in that way. This is the most important slide according to me, because it shows you why Indians would use your website or your product online instead of another. First reason would be easy to use. So very important to understand the market, because they would use the app or your product in a certain way, and for them to be able to use it in a very fast way is very important. Especially in Mumbai, when we work with filmmakers or others, they are really fast. They want to do things fast. Like they are impatient sometimes. And like you need to keep them down, but they want to do it. Like they want to do it fast. Once they decide, they just want to do it. And easy to use is a very important thing. Second, of course, is offers, best prices and deals, because Indians would always see the value for the money they are spending. So this is going to be always a very important point for everyone from India. Are the money I'm spending going to go in something that I'm actually giving that value? This question is always going to be there. So that's very important for you when looking at the market. Good trip ideas and options. That's experiences. This is coming in. And we talked about before with Mr. Goyal. Experiences is a very big trend which is happening, and lots of small travel agencies are looking at making a very specialized offer, like marathons. The marathons all over the world. So there is a travel agency that organizes for the people that want to go and run in those marathons all over the world. There are many even here, but in India, you know, it was not something that was expected to happen, but it's actually happening, and many are actually traveling for those new group trip ideas, and so on and so forth. Of course, then you can look at the slides details later. This we can move on. It's the last one, yeah. Thank you very much for your attention, and I think Emma now can. Do we have any time for questions? We don't have any time for questions. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the talks, and I wish you a good day ahead at BTO.
Thank you very much. Grazie. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ivano. Thank you, Mr. Goyal. And we don't have time for questions because we started a bit late, but it was a very interesting panel. And now I give the floor to the other presenters. And thank you very much for being here.